Welcome to a new episode of the Success Grid podcast. Today I have a very special person with me today, Katie Chonacas. She is an actress, voiceover artist, published author of her new poetry book called A Lover's Fairytale, and the host of the She's All Over the Place podcast. Katie, welcome to the grid.
Thank you, Hussein. Thank you so much for having me. How are
Awesome.
you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Excited to
Awesome.
be here,
Thank
connecting
you. Awesome.
internationally. How cool.
Cool. So are you all over the place now?
Certainly am. It's so
Cool.
wild. This is the longest I've been in one place in over 2 decades. And although I've been in one place, I've been able to be all over the place internally and spiritually and with my mind, setting up all my different interests in business and really nurturing them. So it's been a really exciting time.
Awesome. So let me ask you, who or what inspires Katie to do what she does? Especially you're doing a lot of things, and the latest being the podcast, I think, and the book, the poetry book. Who inspires you, or what inspires you to do that?
What really inspires me is color. What inspires me is energy and the unknown. I get so excited because like one of my brands is called the Sophisticated Psychos, and sophisticated psychos means wisdom minds. And so it's that fine line that we walk on, that balance beam of the unknown, which
Mhm.
could be very scary but also very exciting. So that's what keeps me going, because no matter how much we think we know, and if we know everything, then we stop growing. So to
Yeah.
know that when we fill up and we know everything, it's time to pivot and shift into something new and create from a new, fresh canvas. So that's very exciting for me. Yeah, so that's what kind of inspires me:
Awesome.
energy, people, art, nature.
You're actually right to be on the edge of your comfort zone. That pushes people to grow and keep going, because if you stay in your, let's say, bubble or circle, you will do the same thing that you always do.
Yeah, and that was so boring, especially growing up. Like everyone was in their 90210 world, same 10 girlfriends, same 15 guy friends, same friends doing the same things. It was like so boring. It's like I like to have different groups and different opportunities and all the time.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about your career in acting. How did that start, and where are you now with it?
Sure. So um my very first major role was CSI New York with Gary Sinise, and he's
Cool.
amazing. He was so awesome to work with, and and I went on to working on Cold Case and Law and Order SVU and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I was on the first season. They say
Wow.
like it's always sunny. They say it's like the new Seinfeld, and so it was comedy and drama. So I've done TV and I've done film, and so along the way, I landed into voiceovers too. When I got a management team and I was in Hollywood and I got an agency, they're like, "Oh, like the commercial division is with the voiceover division." And without a reel, without anything, they just put me in and started doing voiceovers. So I was doing voiceovers for a bunch of different companies, and it was so fun and so creative. And the secret and the most fun about voiceovers is the bigger the better, because if you're big and wild and crazy and you're doing all these wacky things, the director knows they can always bring you down. But if you start off really small and you're going like this and you're playing, it's kind of like in life. If you're playing very small in life, like a director, if you're going very small, they don't know that they can bring you brighter and bigger. So it's
Yeah.
better just to really go for it. I found in life, like one of my metaphors since I was a kid was um, um, just do it. Nike, to win. Nikki, it's a Greek word, victorious people. Just do it. So it's like all or nothing. I've always had that bold kind of personality. It's like strike when the iron's hot. And if you're going to do it right. If you're going to go all the way, or like don't do it at all. Yeah.
Great.
So along my acting journey, TV, film, working with De Niro, Pacino, Nicolas Cage, Mila
Awesome.
Jovovich, some of the greatest film directors in the world. Werner Herzog, he directed me in The Bad Lieutenant Port of Call, New Orleans. And I worked with David Toohey, who directed G.I. Jane. He directed Demi Moore in G.I. Jane, and he did The Fugitive. Um, I had the grand opportunity to work in comedy and drama and TV and film and indie films and big budget films. And I was so young and I was so grateful. And I'm like, oh, I've made it, because success is measured. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
success
that's,
leaves the clues.
yeah. And it's like, we can't, we can compare, but comparing someone else's success to your own success, I feel, is a death threat. And I've done it. I've compared myself, I've judged myself, and it makes me feel very unhappy. It's not very fulfilling at all, but it's a part of life and it's a part of the journey to explore those things. But I also know, because most people, I feel, start out by comparing, playing small, and judging. I started out with a big bang of like this confidence and knowing and this like grace from the universe. So I started on the other side of the spectrum of like, life is grand and fabulous, and then I did all these things, and then I had the other side of the pole of like the dark days, or feeling down and depressed, or judging, but through my career as well. My first pilot season, I tested for 3 pilots, and I was up for um uh doing it with Kelly Osbourne. This wonderful casting director had me up for the project, and I was like signing my life away for 7 years for a contract, getting like, X amount of, $55,000 for the pilot, X amount per episode, and like signing my life away. And then it goes to someone else, who was like a bigger star in Canada. And so I went into a deep hole for like
Mm,
3 days. I was in my room because I was like, I just came to Hollywood and I had all these amazing credits, and I like targeted, and I did such an awesome job to be like on a TV series and really like make it happen. But then when I didn't land the role, what happened was I went into my room, I remember, and I was just sleeping and sleeping and sleeping. And this was in 2005. And I was just reflecting. And I was on the edge of what you were talking about. And I was so on the edge of what you're talking about, that I felt that I never want to feel this, or feel this lonely, or feel this dark and gloomy over any role that I didn't get, or give or someone or something so much power over my beautiful life, when I haven't even blossomed yet. So I told myself, no matter what, nothing would be so important for me to be that upset, because I was on that edge of where it could have gone to like a really horrible place if I would have went off that edge. But I didn't. I talked myself like out of that area and nurtured myself to a place, and then I went on my journey. And that was earlier on in my career, when something so major was happening within my life.
yeah. So, uh, talk to me through your mental health in that phase. Sometimes when you got the role or you didn't get the role, how exactly did you deal with that? Especially sometimes we know that sometimes could be a great break for certain movies, maybe, or certain roles. So how did you deal with that mentally exactly?
Well, a couple things, but ultimately, I went on and had a very great, successful career, and I can talk about that through my short term, medium term, and long term goals. So, my psychological mindset for mind growth is being a cross country runner. So, what I do as an individual affects the whole. And so, I had these interpersonal challenges, and since I had such grand success, but could have gone off the deep end with something so early on in my career, and I told myself and had a coaching session with myself and coach myself that nothing was that important to go to that area. So I was able to, from 2005, then continue on in my career and be up for so many roles, read thousands of scripts. And like one time I was up for Jamie Kennedy's pilot, Living with Fran Drescher, and it was between me and the girl who got it, and the girl who got it was the writer's daughter. And like another time I was up for this film, and it was like Tom Hanks's son's girlfriend. It was me at the time. I don't know if he's still with her, if they're married or whatever, but at the time it was Tom Hanks's son girlfriend between me and her, and she got the role. So it's like sometimes it's politics, sometimes it's who like who's the daughter of who or who's the son of who. And so that's just the luck of the draw. But me, I always knew I can go for my talent and my skill set and my face in the universe,
Yeah.
so I was always strong and confident within my skill set. But hey, I went out for Cold Case 8 times. On my 8th time, I booked a guest lead on Cold Case, and Barbara Fiorentino, who's the head of casting at Hulu now, and Rebecca Mangieri, they were partners then, and they tested me on Point Pleasant. I tested for that TV show, and they loved me so much. They brought me straight to producers, because you go to the casting
No.
directors, and after you first you have to have a team, and once you have a team, then they have to submit you and pitch you to get into the casting directors. Then, I mean, that's like 50% of the battle right there. Once
Mm.
you get in front of the casting directors, then you have to like not blow it with them, and it's like you prepare for like 12 hours, 24 hours a week, and you prepare, and you have 5 minutes in front of these casting directors, and then you do great work. It's all about doing great work. And
Mm.
so once you do great work and you show up, and they see that you're loyal and your commitment and that you're talented, they want you to be their solution. They want you to be the ones to solve their quote unquote problem, to bring you to the producer and the directors and the executives, so they can hire you, because then their job's done and they can cast everything else.
Yeah.
However, they have to trust, and because their life and their job is on the line, if they bring you to their colleagues and you're not the one, I get to make them look good, right? And
Yeah.
so it's a trusted kinship and a relationship and a development skill set that I think that cross country taught me, by like nurturing and planting seeds and nurturing it and having the short term, medium, and long term goals for the mindset, that it's not just a one off. You're meeting these people, and these are the people. Look, in 2005, she tested me on Point Pleasant. Now she's the head of casting at Hulu, and so to focus in on Cold Case, they brought me straight to producers, and they kept bringing me to producers, and the producers, they liked me, they wanted to cast me, but they say in
Awesome.
yeah, they say totally awesome. They say in Hollywood, Cold Case was one of the toughest shows to cast, because they do the Cold Case files from present day, and they take it back to like 1950s, and then the mothers, the families members, they have to like
Mm.
match with the look. So they have to have the talent, but then you also have to like match aesthetically. So on the 8th time I finally booked it, which was awesome, and a
Great.
great honor. Mhm.
Awesome. So, a little question comparison. Which do you like more? Like acting or like doing voiceovers? Which one is your better side, or do you like them both?
Well, this is the thing. Um, to be a great voiceover actor, you have to be a great actor. People think, oh, they can just do voiceovers. No, you can't just do voiceovers. Like it's about the craft, right, of acting. So
Yeah.
the people who and voiceovers very lucrative. I hear like voiceover actors get more money than on-screen actors, and voiceovers, it's so cool because like this is my booth, and I have a home studio, and I have voiceovers every day, and instead of going to the office or going in somewhere, driving somewhere, spending my time, my energy, my gas, seeing other actors, I have social anxiety, needing to deal with like getting the material when I get there. I get all on my iPad. I can prepare. I can be I'm hydrated. I went to the bathroom. I can prepare my mindset so I'm like centered spiritually with my breath, and then I can just record on my mic the voiceovers. And the cool thing with the voiceovers now, different from 2005 and 2010, now I can be in Bali, I can be in Jordan, I can be anywhere in the world, and I can do voiceovers because I can have a home studio setup, and you can record with the clients. And also, I can be a lead on a TV show working 12 to 16 hours a day, and in my honey wagon trailer with the booth set up, a voiceover booth, and I could record a TV series that could take 1 hour, that could take 3 hours. And with voiceovers, you can record 2 to 3 to 5 episodes in one session for a whole series, because you get through the script. But if it's a commercial, like I booked something with 7-Eleven, and I'm the voice of 7-Eleven for the next year, I was literally like 30 minutes, and I'm the voice of 7-Eleven for the next year, and it's like it was a 30-minute session. So the cool thing is, like, when you as you grow older and wiser, and there's time management and stuff, and God willing, I'll be having children and stuff, voiceovers, um, way less time, a lot more money, and it's your voice, but you're able to like raise a family and be anywhere in the world.
Mm,
So and it's so much fun. So I love voiceovers, but I mean, obviously I love being on screen as well. I just like to, when I'm on screen, there's a lot of downtime. So I'm reading, I'm making music, I'm writing poetry. I'm just always doing something creative.
cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about your book. Is it a poetry book, The Lover's Fairy Tale?
Yeah. It's right here for the whoever's watching. It's called A Lover's Fairy Tale. And I had the grand opportunity to travel the world, and I was working with many photographers, and one is named Robert Sturm, and he's a legendary photographer, amazing, and he created pieces that look like a painting. So there's 14 pieces in the book, and it was taken with the original Polaroid. That Polaroid discontinued in 2001. So he bought as many Polaroid packages as he could and put them in the freezer so they would preserve, right?
Wow,
And
really?
yeah, so this artwork that are they're photographs that look like paintings, they're super rare. And we did a whole series together. And I selected these photos in particular because it's the time when I was traveling around the world. And I went around the world and I wrote these pieces, and I selected 11 pieces from when I was in Greece and Dominican Republic and Bermuda and Monaco. And I write about love, and it's all like a lover's fairy tale. It's all about love. It's not just love about a partnership in relation to a boy and a girl or your partner, you know. It's about the love of nature, the love of waterfalls and culture and humanity and language and diversity. So it's the love of the gift of being on the planet, right?
Mm,
On a soul level, like what you Hussein get to see every day, like that we take for granted, hearing birds
yeah.
chirp away.
Yeah,
So
actually, we definitely should take these things for granted.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
But we
that's what
should but we should focus sometimes on them.
Oh, big time. And when we're focusing on the moment, that's when we're consciously like in the present of the now, which is all we really have, to be present, to unhook from our thoughts, which is the moment we can create a new thought and a new choice. So by love and fantasy and by writing, that's what I write in this book, A Lover's Fairy Tale. And I'm really excited that I wrote these pieces, and they're untainted. I was celibate for 7 years, and I traveled the world, and I wanted to see the world and experience what was given to us before committing myself and getting into a relationship and being tied down with a partner saying, "Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that." Or, I saw a lot of relationships.
Are you sure you were gonna be with someone who would say something like that?
Well, I've seen a lot of people, girls and people complain, "Oh, my boyfriend won't let me do this. I can't do that, or I can't go this place without my boyfriend." Or and I'm like, I'm not going to be that. I want to see what I want to fill up my cup and see and fulfill my soul's purpose so I can be so full. So I have that greater meaning, because I hear when you have children, it's not about you anymore. It's 1000% about them.
Yeah,
So
kinda, maybe. Yeah, especially when they are small, you kind of have to take care of them.
yeah, so before, like when I was 17 years old, I went to Chicago all by myself, and on the way back, God bless these ladies. They were elderly, 70s, 80s years old, and there was three of them, and they're saying, "Do it all now. Do it. Go travel, see the world, do it all before things happen, before you get tied down, because that's what happens. People, they get stuck in a 40-hour job week, or they're working and they're unhappy, or they're tied down to these choices, and then they wake up and they're like, how did I get here?" And so I really took their advice. I felt like they were God's angels, and I took their advice at a very young age, to dear to my heart and my soul. And I wanted to experience life fully, untainted, without any other any other thoughts or judgments from another person, because everyone's going to say what they want to say, and they
Yeah.
can say it all day, no problem. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we get to make the choice that's best for us. And
Yeah.
although, especially people who don't know us may say something, and the people who are close to us want the best for us, but sometimes they're saying things from a place where they don't know what's even best for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes people make judgment calls that are not in the correct place, I guess. Yeah. Speaking of this, how did you remove the fear and doubt in in yourself to do whatever that you wanted to do, whether it's your career, whether it's your own life, whether the people who are just were around you, something like that? How did you deal with that?
Well, it's been more difficult actually the last maybe 8 years for me. When I was a youngster, not so much. Like I said, I was so connected to that inner source and knowing, and I just did it. Like I just took bold action on it. But then when I went around the world and I made a conscious choice for it to be a labyrinth, and I did it. I knew, and I did everything I knew. And after I did everything I already knew, I went out into the world by choice, and I was a seeker. And I asked everyone else, and I said, jump, how high? Run, how far? Left, for how long? And I listened to people who were successful, quote unquote, who were wealthy, who went to Harvard, who were educated, who were very educated, and or who had something maybe that I wanted. People I looked up to and admired. And I researched, and I would go out and I would find mentors that I could confide in. And then I grew out of mentors. Ever since I was younger, I had mentors, and I moved to California. They were still my mentors, and I had to get new mentors. And then I grew out of those mentors. And and then after 10 years of being so outside of myself and asking everyone else, I became a people pleaser. I became a people pleaser. And I stopped doing what I wanted to do just because I wanted to make others happy, because I became so insecure. And I'm like, how did I get so insecure? And I completely like lost myself. But I feel like that was my soul's journey to kind of know yourself, then lose yourself and find yourself again.
Yeah.
But in the process of losing myself, and then the journey back home to myself, the last 8 years was very difficult. Was very, very, very difficult. And I've had grand success in my career and being consistent. Maybe I could have been further along, um, making different choices. Maybe I did some self sabotaging. Maybe I needed to do some growing and experience certain things. And I don't know why, but maybe because it was going to make me a better actor, because I was very frustrated. It's like brakes on a car,
Yeah.
when like you need to change them after a while. You need to change the pads and the rotors. So I was in all the classes, New York, LA. Like I've studied with the best, comedy, drama, TV, film. I've worked with the best. Like, I felt like I did it all. And it's like, then I was like losing out to these people, a couple that I mentioned, a lot more that I haven't mentioned. And then you become like run down inside. And so I just had to take a break, because like I wasn't booking the roles I wanted to book, and the roles a lot of times, like my age, like since I'm grateful for my youth and preserving and taking care of myself, but a lot of times they're like, she's a great actor but she looks too young, or she's a great actor but this series is going to go, we don't know if she's going to age well. So a lot of times I would like lose out to the parts because like I looked too young, and it was really frustrating. I mean, I think I was on CSI New York. You know, I remember when I was on like Law and Order, I was, a certain age playing. I've always been playing like 10 years younger than my real age. Which is a gift in itself. But anyway, so long story short, um, I just felt like, taking a break, and an actor's journey, it is a journey. And so I feel like the journey I went on, I felt like the thing is, I feel like it's only made me a better actor. I
Mm,
was celibate, I mentioned. I didn't have that interpersonal relationship because I was so closed off from letting anyone in because of intimacy. I was terrified and petrified of being vulnerable and people actually seeing who I was. And vulnerability is so important, especially when you're on the screen, especially when we're connecting here, for me to listen and to understand and to have empathy to where you're coming from and to connect. So the thing about acting is you're talking on one side and the other side is listening. And so a lot of
mm,
times when you're on screen acting, people are talk, 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 talk. But then when their lines are done, they're like a deer in headlights because they're frozen and they're thinking about their next lines because they're not in the moment and they're
mm.
thinking about what's next instead of like listening. So I took a DJ music course and I love DJing. I grew up in the Detroit electronic music scene. I produce music. I have a band, the Sophisticated Psychos. So
Cool.
I took it. I love being, yeah, I love being committed. So in 2016, I took a DJ music course for 1 year, and every 6 weeks we had um semesters. And what I would do instead of memorizing like hundreds of pages and racking my brain to memorize all these words, which was a skill set in its own, but I wanted to take a break. I needed new pads. I wanted to take a break on my mind, but I wanted to feel the vibe and be more in my body and less in my head. So I went and took a DJ music course to listen, to do the other side of the craft, to be a better listener through
Cool.
sound. Yeah.
Awesome. It's a very creative mindset, I would say. Yeah. لا, I mean, really, music is something that there is a lot of creativity to it, especially if you do it your own. Um, yeah, it's really cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have anything that, speaking of the sophisticated psychos, what did you do in that regards to music exactly?
Yeah, well, recently I just released two solo EPs during the pandemic. I just released Full House, and I grew up on house music. I love house music, and I'm friends with DJ Bad Boy Bill. He's a legendary DJ from Chicago. He's the best house DJ in the world, and he was an anchor and someone I admired throughout my life and journey. And I've been friends with him for like a while now. But my music partner Nikki Scorpio, he just released his song called Irregular. It's so amazing. If you type in Nikki Scorpio, it's called Irregular, how we're all irregular, right? And to celebrate our differences, diversity. So he turned me on to subtle energy, to this scientist named Eric Thompson, and he has this solfeggio healing frequencies, and he sent me over a list of healing frequencies. And for this particular EP, I selected 396 healing frequencies. 396 healing frequencies removes guilt and fear. And I felt my soul and my vessel, in my creative vessel of my artist journey, I needed to remove a lot of guilt and a lot of fear from what I was just talking about, of people pleasing, of listening to so many other people and then taking on so much shame and so much guilt, that I was just like storing up on an energetic level in like my aura and like all of my chakras, are my meridian points. We have 12 main
Mm,
chakras, seven main chakras in the body. And I needed to remove guilt and fear. So whoever listens to it, whoever finds it now, tomorrow, 10 years from now, whenever, it'll align and call and attune to them, and they'll listen to it while cleaning, while working out, dancing, whatever. But it's actually aligned and encoded with healing frequencies. So
awesome.
it's kind of like
Great.
my divine purpose of a gift, not only to myself, but caring and sharing with others in the world.
Yeah, cool. Speaking of sharing with the world, how do you see yourself as a role model for future generation?
Wow, that's a great, beautiful question. Well, you know, Hussein, when I was 12, I remember sitting on the ground writing in my journal all the time, yearning and wishing I had someone in my ear telling me things I needed to know, things I needed to know. And I'm like, I'm going to remember. I'm not going to forget. Because what happens is when you're a kid, people, for some reason, they like lose their fire, their inner spirit, their child like nature, and they become just adults, right? And they like, they just whatever, they say. And I remember hearing it, and I remember like, I'm not going to be like that. And I remember my grandparents and hearing what my grandparents said and what my parents said, and I'm like, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to hold on to this. So I wrote things down so I would remember. And it's why I started my podcast, She's All Over the Place podcast, because with my over 2 decades of experience in entertainment, in life, as a human being, with ethics, morals, values, being a female entrepreneur, being a woman and going out into the world in a quote unquote man's world, having to put up my armor. I'm Greek, I'm cultured, having to like have my great roots, but put up this shield to protect myself. And then like only within these few years I took my shield down, and I'm like, I actually, even though I can take it, doesn't mean I have to take it. I don't, even though I can be tough, doesn't mean I have to act tough, but I felt like I had to
Mm,
prove to others and prove to myself. And so I started the podcast. So, and a lot of kids, a lot of artists and entrepreneurs and people in entertainment, but a lot of teenagers tune into my show because I like to add value and I like to be the voice for them to reach out to me anywhere in the world, anything they're interested in. I've been so interested in everything that if I don't know it particular, I know someone who does. In that 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the world, that I can connect you to them.
yeah.
And that's who I am. And that's who I strive to be. And on this planet, a ripple effect. And they call me Katie Chonacas, Katie the Connector. So that's why I started the podcast. So for future generations, I want them to hear my voice, but not only hear my voice, how I speak, what I say, the sound and the vibrations, like you were saying with the music earlier, right?
Mm,
Music is so therapeutic, it's so healing. Music is one song. It means universe. It connects us all. We're all
mm,
speaking different languages. I hear sounds, how you're saying it, the tone of how you're saying it, how you're sharing the stuff I'm saying to the listener right now with you, to the viewer, and they're listening and it's transmuting and they're receiving it into their spirit, into their hippocampus, into their prefrontal cortex. They're digesting it into their soul. And this is what moves us: art, poetry, language, right? So, this is how we break generational trauma. This is how we scale. This is how we grow. This is how we share and connect on a successful level and being
mm,
acutely aware to what information we take in, because we don't have to agree with everything we're seeing on the news, and we don't have to agree with what people in our circumstances. Our bodies know. Our lizard brain, our first brain down here, our lizard brain, it takes a hit and it knows. It takes a hit and it knows like yes or it knows no. Like we have 40,000 neurons in our heart alone. Our heart is so much grander than, our 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. So we know. But then what happens is we have all these shields, all these gateways and shields to protect ourselves from ourselves and circumstances telling us. So it's up to us to break out of those things and to make our own choice from a white, clean canvas, not based on what other people tell us, but based on what we know inside.
cool. So, can you give us just one takeaway from this episode that you would give to anyone?
Oh, yeah. I guess our soul's journey, our artist journey, our human journey, our intuitiveness, that hit that we take to listen to the little voice, to quiet the mind, to get out of our circumstances, put our feet on the grass, into the sand, get away from the noise, the sounds, just get to a very, very quiet place. And when you think you've sat enough, sit more and sit with self. And at least do a timer, at least for 20 minutes a day. Just sit there and select a word. Just say, what's my word? Prosperity, calmness, positivity, joy, whatever you need your world to be, whatever you want more of, whatever you want to magnify, openness, whatever. And just kind of set the timer and just sit. And every time your mind wanders, just come back to just sitting, not focusing on the breath, not focusing on anything, just sitting and just sitting there and just sitting some more. I think is probably the best takeaway I can give for your brain health, for my health, for the listener and the viewer's health. Because taking that load off is going to take the stress off. It's going to make us think clearer and make better choices.
Awesome. So where can people get in touch with you, Katie? Is it chonacas.com?
Yeah, totally. They're on all social media platforms. A Lover's Fairytale, probably if you just type in your email, I'm sending a beautiful complimentary gift of a playlist of all these spoken word music videos that I self-produced from my poetry book, A Lover's Fairytale. So they're spoken word music videos. And then you'll automatically be connected with me because I send out emails like once every 2 weeks with art projects I'm working on, people I'm honoring, interested people that I've connected with, because I like to share other people's stories as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie, for being with me today on the Success Grid podcast.
Many, many blessings. Thank you, Hussein. Thank you so much.